In this video help, I'm going to cover a special custom feature that was requested by a client. And what it does is it offers the ability for a user where you're in a consignment store and you have to duplicate a record. And we go to the consignment individual record in the consignment portal from the consignment screen. When you see this record, what you're looking at is a transaction that was entered for a oak table. Now the oak table in this particular case, it could be any kind of an item. And say, for example, you need to duplicate this record because you have an identical item and you want to repeat the record. And the reason that we're doing a repeat is in a consignment system. The consignment ID and consignor ID, in this particular case, often you cannot reuse that particular item ID over again. What it does is if you do that, it does what we call cancels the relationship as far as the linking ID in this case, which is the number 2. The way you can get around this is that you can repeat the record and then edit it. And the way I've done it is I've created this button called Copy and Add New. And where would this be used? What would be the purpose of doing this kind of a copy? Well, in an environment where you're doing consignment, you cannot reuse the consignor item ID. So if you had a retail item, and the retail item is something that may be repeated 1 to the number of times, what you would want to do is repeat the record and then modify the information here and edit whatever you have to on the screen. Now what I've done in this little formula here is I will be removing the consigned date sold. The consigned date may be different if you're going to add it on a different day than the date that the original item was put in. If you're doing it as just repeat items that you're adding on an ongoing basis for your retail sales, you would want to put in the consigned date. And the reason for doing individual consigned dates is so that when you sell the product, products are sold with a tag on the product where it has the consignor ID and the consignor ID and the consignment item ID on the tag. So it has to be unique. You cannot have the same repeating all the time, or you would be reselling the same item that was once sold already. So that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this process and I'm going to explain the steps you need to take when you do it. Keep your eye on this field here because you're going to see this one change and this field change when I click on the button. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Clicking, and now what's going to happen, you're going to get a dialog up, and what you're going to want to do, it's going to be replacing the date sold, and in this particular case it's going to create the third record. I'm going to go ahead and say replace, and you're going to see the date disappear, and this is in a programming formula so that it clears the record for you. I said before this was number 2, now it's number 3. It put today's date in. If you need to change that to a different date, say like back to the date when this other item was originally put in, you can do that. Now I have a suggestion solution to be able to clear up when you're looking at the actual name of these things. If these were identical in every respect, what you can do is you can do what I call the lot ID. I would do L1 so that this now would become lot 1 of the same kind of things, and L1 indicates that this is a lot change or item ID 3, and on the tag this would be L1. If you had another identical one, it'd be L2, L3, L4 as you go through, and each new record that you create would go ahead and change both the ID here, which you cannot edit, but so you would put in the L1, L2, L3 as you're going through the records. Now the other edits you would need to do is if you're going to change the price or leave it the same, I would go ahead and do that. Now look at here, we have a sold at price. Now I'm going to tell you how to do that as well. Since this record over here says on new records set to 0, and what you're going to see, I can't do it programmatically because it's not allowed to change that calculation, but what we're going to do is we're just going to enter 0. In this case I put 10, what I meant to put in was a 0. And when I put in 0, you're going to see as soon as I click off of it, it's going to go ahead and zero out the past sold price. So what we have now is a new record with ID 3 for the same consignor. We put L2 in the description here. We closed out the sold date, And the information here is now based on the new consignment date. It's the 16th instead of the 13th. If you need to make any notes or change the commission on this particular item, in most cases it would always be the same. If you want to make a note that this is a L2 item where it's another new item added, you can do that in the notes field, or you can pop up this note and add a note in that note field if you wanted to. It's all optional if you want to. But what we've actually done here is we've returned a record that is a new record and repeated it without having to add physically another item in the scrolling portal for portal records. And as you'll note, when I go back to that the record for item 3 on consignor item 2, I'll go over here, and you'll see on, whoops, got to get to the right guy. Let's go there. Okay, I'll go to me, then I'll click on consignments, and I'll look at item 2 and scroll down, and you'll see that there is an item 3 that was added to the scrolling portal, and it has all the information that we just added, and it's edited, so you can see that everything is in there. And if you want to go back to the portal, just go ahead and click on the portal record to review everything. And make sure in this case that you do have your tax rate and everything in there, that this is the correct category. And in this case, whoop, we almost missed something, so we need to change it. It is now for sale. So now that we've checked everything and we've placed it in for sale, it's no longer a sold item, it's available for sale. And that's a very important thing that you do, is go back and change the consigned status. So once again, to recap, we changed the date, the title name, automatically erased the date sold. We took the quantity and changed it to 0, which took the sold at price and removed it, and we added the consigned for sale status, and we made sure that everything else here looks correct and the commission is correct, and now we've created a new record. Once you get the hang of this should take you about 3 seconds per record to add new records. Now, one of the things that's kind of nice, if you're going to repeat this again for the same date and make an L2, you do not have to do some of the things. You do not have to change the 0. You shouldn't have a date in here. If you're keeping the same date, it would be the same, and the for sale would also be the same. So you could repeat, and just change this little piece right here to repeat for new items that you're adding, and it would cycle the item ID for as many times as you want to put it in there. And recall, as I said, the tag is the key. When you tag the item in the lot, it will have the consigned ID for the item in that lot 1, 2, 3, or 4. So when it comes to the cash register to be checked out, basically all you're going to have to do is put the item ID and the consignor ID numbers in the invoice. It'll call this record up on the invoice, and you shouldn't have to do anything else. It would have the correct information on it. So like I said, the tag on the item is the key of how to use this. Okay, this was an optional improvement or update that I added to the app so that you can use your retail items that you add to your store in the consignment store to provide another option so you can repeat retail items. If you have any questions about how this is used or you need more help, please contact me at the support site.